regarding the sleep issue, do you think it's possible for people who work midnight shifts to find a way to save those days from being a total disaster from the muscle building perspective? How much of an impact do you feel it has on the average week? So I think for this person, it sounds like you are maybe a shift worker and maybe you're concerned about its impacts on your muscle protein synthetic response to training. So that's really interesting. I think I probably need to know a little bit more about your schedule, because if you just have a normal, like if your schedule is just you work really late, but then you're sleeping until, midday the following day, and your circadian rhythm has adapted to a different sleep like cycle, there may not actually be too much of a significant negative impact on your capacity to build muscle. I think for people that have a really disrupted and ever changing sleep-wake cycle, that can be really problematic. I even know for me, having just flown back from Australia with my circadian rhythm all over the place, this week in terms of my body's capacity to, get optimal signaling for muscle growth, it's probably going to be somewhat blunted. So, it's a good thing that I'm not traveling like that all the time. Otherwise, I probably would have to do a lot more work to get the same response. So it is frustrating. But yeah, I think if your normal, going to bed time is just pretty late due to working a shift, and then you get the appropriate amount of sleep and recovery time, then it might not be a total disaster. I was actually thinking you were going to ask, maybe it's become a total disaster in terms of calories. And I would say for the people that are doing shift work and maybe you don't have a normal, consistent number of hours that you're awake and then asleep, maybe some weeks, week on, week off, you have like a much longer, working weight than others. Then in those particular instances, I would probably say just give yourself more calories on those days because your body's doing more. And that actually leads me to think, so when you are traveling, so in the situation like where I've just been away, because I knew there was going to be a period of time where I am awake for many, many more hours than I am used to, a little quick trick that I like to do, and I'll pull up the calculator here just so that we can do the math together. If your current, let's say maintenance calories or your current calories are, we'll just say 1600. The quick and dirty way to do this would be to take that number and then divide it by 24 hours in the day. So basically, this is saying that every hour that you are awake, your body is expending about 66 calories. Now, we know that, your sleep caloric expenditure versus your daytime activity caloric expenditure is probably very different, right? But this is a very rough way that you can do it if you need to kind of give yourself a bit more flexibility with calories. Let's say for the average day, you normally are awake for 15 hours. And if you're traveling, maybe you're going overseas, you know that you're actually going to be staying up many, many hours later. So it might mean that your time zone, you're going to bed and it's like 3 a.m., but, wherever you're going to, maybe it's only 10 p.m. So you're staying up, several hours more. Let's say you stayed up an additional 4 hours. I would take this number and I would multiply it by 4. So I would be happy to give myself, on a day where I have stayed up many, many more hours than I usually am, an additional 266 calories just to accommodate those extra hours of being awake and active. So for the shift worker here, that might be also something that you can consider with the days that are a little bit longer than normal to make sure that you feel like you're getting enough nutrition, because I have definitely seen and worked with clients who have come to me and their coach has just given them one set of macros when in actual fact, their body's demands are radically higher on some days than others. So, it wouldn't make sense to expect you not to get starving hungry on a day where you're awake for many more hours. So that's a quick little equation that you can do to help with that.